My parents gave my $5 million beach house to my brother while I was still paying the insurance on it. Not after asking me. Not after sitting me down like adults. Not after contributing $1 to the mortgage, $1 to the taxes, $1 to the repairs, or 1 hour to the long years it took me to afford it. They simply decided. My name is Naomi Bennett. I was 38 years old when I drove 4 hours to Coral Key, expecting one quiet weekend by the ocean, and found my brother Marcus standing on my balcony in a white linen shirt, drinking from one of my crystal glasses, showing his friends the view like he had inherited the horizon. The beach house sat on a private stretch of coast outside Sea Haven. White walls, blue shutters, wide glass doors, a wraparound deck, steps leading straight down to soft sand. A kitchen facing the water, a master bedroom that woke up with sunrise, and a small reading room where I kept Grandma Ruth's rocking chair, the one thing I had moved there before even buying proper furniture. The house was not just expensive. It was my breathing place. After years of carrying family pressure, divorce pain, company stress, late-night calls, unpaid family bills, and Marcus's endless emergencies, I bought Coral Key House for one reason: peace. Not status, not showing off, not family vacations. Peace. I wanted one place where the ocean was louder than guilt. One place where no one knocked on my bedroom door asking for money. One place where my phone could be turned off without my mother crying that I had abandoned the family. One place where I could sit with tea, look at water, and remember that I was a person before I was useful. I closed on the house in March. I told only Grace, my best friend and CFO, and Vivian Hart, my lawyer. Grace cried when she saw the photos. "Naomi Bennett," she said, "you bought a movie." I bought quiet. Even better. Vivian did not cry. Vivian reviewed the deed, insurance, coastal risk policy, estate documents, access codes, security contract, and local property rules before saying, "Now you may enjoy it." That was Vivian's idea of a blessing. For 6 months, Coral Key House was mine in the purest way. I went there alone, sometimes with Grace, once with Aunt Linda, never with my parents, never with Marcus, never with Marcus. Not because I hated them, because I knew my family. The moment my mother saw extra bedrooms, she would begin imagining who needed them more than me. The moment my father saw the property value, he would talk about family legacy. The moment Marcus saw the ocean, he would call it an opportunity, and I was tired of opportunities that began with my sacrifice. But secrets in families are hard to keep when someone believes your life should be transparent for their convenience. My mother found out through a cousin who saw my name on a local charity donor list near Sea Haven. She called me one evening. "Naomi," she said softly, "is there something you forgot to tell us?" I was in my office, reviewing contracts. My shoulders tightened. "What do you mean? You bought a house at the beach?" There it was. I closed my eyes. Yes. There was a pause. Then a little laugh. Not happy. Measured. A $5 million beach house? Mom. Baby, I am not judging you. She was already judging. I just wonder why your family had to hear from outside. Because it is my home. Your family cannot celebrate with you? Celebrate. That word made me tired. In my family, celebrating me often turned into calculating what I could share. You can be happy for me without seeing it. Her voice tightened. That sounds cold. No, it sounds clear. She went quiet, then said the sentence that told me trouble had entered the room. That is a lot of house for one woman. I looked at the contract on my desk, but the words blurred. One woman. Again. My family always used that phrase like a discount code for my life. One woman did not need a mansion. One woman did not need extra rooms. One woman did not need a beach house. One woman did not need peace if someone with children, debt, a wife, or a louder crisis needed it more. I said, "Mom, do not start. I'm only saying, baby, Marcus has been under pressure." Of course. There he was. Marcus. The permanent storm cloud over every sunny thing I owned. What pressure? She sighed. His landlord is selling the rental. Tasha is upset. The children need stability. Then they should find another rental. Naomi. No. You do not even know what I am asking. Yes, I do. My mother's voice became soft. Dangerously soft. You have been blessed. I worked. God used your work. And now you want God to move Marcus into my beach house. She gasped. Do not mock faith. Then stop using faith as a moving truck. She hung up. That should have been the end. It was not. My father called the next day. His voice was heavy, formal, disappointed before I even answered properly. Naomi. Dad. Your mother is upset. I know. You spoke harshly. She asked about Marcus moving into my beach house. She asked about family need. Same sentence, wearing church clothes. He sighed. This is exactly what concerns me. Success is changing you. No. Boundaries are revealing you. Silence. Then his voice hardened. Marcus's family needs help. I hear that. And you have a house sitting empty most weeks. It is not empty. It is peaceful. That is selfish. I leaned back slowly. There it was. The word they always kept ready. Selfish. A woman protecting her own life is selfish. A son needing his sister's property is family. I said, Dad, Marcus is not moving into Coral Key. No one said moving permanently. How temporary? He hesitated. 6 months, maybe a year. I laughed. I could not help it. Temporary, then. Do not be disrespectful. No, do not insult me with old words. He lowered his voice. Naomi, if your brother's family has nowhere to go and you keep a $5 million beach house locked up for weekends, this family will remember. I looked out my office window at the city lights. Good, I said. Remember that I said no before anyone packed. He hung up too. For 2 weeks, silence. That was worse than noise. Silence in my family was never peace. It was planning. Grace told me to change the access codes. I did. Vivian told me to notify the local security company that no family member had access. I did. Aunt Linda told me to stop answering calls from people who introduced theft with scripture. I tried. Then, one Friday afternoon, I received an alert from the Coral Key security system. Front gate opened. My stomach dropped. I opened the camera feed. A black SUV rolled through the gate. Then another. Then Marcus's truck. Then a white van. My hand went cold. The gate code had been used. Not forced. Used. I stared at the screen as people stepped out into my driveway. Marcus. Tasha. My parents. 2 children running toward the deck. A moving company worker. And 3 adults I did not recognize. Marcus lifted his face toward the house like a man arriving at his future. My mother stood beside Tasha, pointing toward the upstairs windows. My father walked to the porch with his hands behind his back. A van door opened. Boxes came out. Boxes. In my beach house. I called Grace. She answered on the first ring. What happened? They're at Coral Key. Her voice went flat. Who? All of them. Are there boxes? Yes. Call Vivian. I'm coming. I called Vivian. She did not ask if I was sure. She said, do not call them first. Send me the footage. I will contact security and local authorities for documentation. You drive only if you can do so safely. I'm driving. Then Grace rides with you. Grace arrived in 18 minutes with coffee I did not drink and the face of a woman ready to commit accounting violence. The drive to Coral Key took 4 hours. I watched the security feed the whole way. Marcus walking through the living room. Tasha opening bedroom doors. My mother placing groceries in my refrigerator. My father sitting on my deck like a retired king. The children jumping on the outdoor sofa. Strangers entering with bags. A man carrying a folded beach umbrella from my storage closet. Then the worst part. Marcus entered my reading room. He touched Grandma Ruth's rocking chair, moved it aside, set down a box. I stopped breathing. Grace saw my face. What? He moved Grandma Ruth's chair. Grace's hands tightened on the steering wheel. I am going to need bail money. Grace. I said need, not use. By the time we arrived, the sun was lowering over the ocean. My driveway was full. Music played from the deck. People laughed. Someone had lit the fire pit. My white curtains were open. My house was glowing like a party. A party. Again. Family entitlement loved music. I stepped out of the car. Grace stepped beside me. Vivian's black car pulled in 2 minutes later. She got out with a leather folder, flat shoes, and the calm fury of a lawyer who had already sharpened the alphabet. We walked up the steps together. The front door was open. Open. Like the house belonged to everyone. Marcus saw me first from the living room. He smiled. Not guilty. Annoyed. Like I had arrived early to a party I was not invited to. Well, he said, look who finally came. My mother turned from the kitchen. Her face changed. Naomi. I looked past her at the groceries on my counter, at Tasha holding towels from my linen closet, at my father standing near the deck doors with a drink, at the cousins I barely knew sitting on my sofa, at sand already tracked across my floor. My voice came out quiet. Everyone out. Marcus laughed. Here we go. Vivian stepped forward. Mr. Bennett, Naomi is the legal owner of this property. You are present without permission. My father set down his glass. Vivian, this is a family matter. Vivian did not blink. Family matters do not require moving vans. My mother's eyes filled instantly. Baby, please, the children are here. I turned to her. You brought them. They needed to see they had somewhere safe. I stared at her. No, you needed them here so I would feel cruel asking them to leave. She flinched. Tasha looked down. Marcus stepped closer. You're not throwing kids out on the street. I looked at him. Where were they living yesterday? He said nothing. Exactly. My father's voice hardened. Naomi, this house is empty most of the time. Your brother's family is struggling. We made a decision. You made a decision about my house. We made a family decision. I laughed softly. A family decision without the owner is just trespassing with witnesses. Grace whispered, put that on a pillow. Marcus glared at her. You stay out of this. Grace smiled. Marcus, if I stayed out of everything you ruined, I would need a second career. Tasha whispered. Marcus, stop. He ignored her. He pointed toward the stairs. We're already here. The kids picked rooms. Mom stocked the kitchen. Dad said we could stay. I looked at my father. Dad said? My father lifted his chin. Yes. With what authority? As your father. I nodded slowly. As my father, you gave away my beach house. We did not give it away. We are using it. You are occupying it. For family stability. For Marcus. My mother cried harder. Why do you always separate him from family? Because he keeps hiding behind it. Marcus's face reddened. You think you're better than me because you can buy houses. No, Marcus. I think I'm the owner because I bought this one. My father said, you have become arrogant. No, I have become accurate. Vivian handed him a notice. Everyone must vacate tonight. My mother gasped. Tonight? Yes, Vivian said. There are children, Grace said. Children who had a home this morning. Marcus slammed his hand onto the table. This is evil. I looked at him. No, Marcus. Evil is teaching your children that if they want something, they can enter through someone else's gate. That shut him up. For 3 seconds. Then my father said the sentence that sealed everything. Naomi, if you force your brother's family out tonight, do not expect us to treat you as family anymore. I stood still. The ocean moved behind him. Soft. Endless. Free. For years, that threat would have broken me. Family exile. Family silence. Family disappointment. Family tears. But they had crossed my gate, entered my home, moved Grandma Ruth's chair, and expected my fear of being unloved to hand them the deed. I looked at my father. You already stopped treating me as family when you turned my peace into Marcus's housing plan. My mother whispered, "Baby, no." I turned to everyone in the living room. This house is not available. Not for 6 months. Not for one weekend. Not for emergencies. Not for family stability. Not for children's rooms. Not for Marcus's fresh start. Everyone leaves now. Marcus said, "And if we don't?" Vivian smiled faintly. "Then the next people who arrive will use less conversational language." My father understood. Marcus understood. Tasha understood first. She began gathering the children's bags. My mother cried but helped. My father stood frozen. Marcus argued for another 20 minutes. But without victory in the room, his voice started sounding smaller. By 10:18 p.m., they were gone. The house was silent, but not peaceful. Not yet. I walked into the reading room. Grandma Ruth's chair sat crooked against the wall. A box had scratched the floor near it. I set the chair back in its place. Then I sat in it and cried. Grace came in quietly. Vivian stood at the door. No one told me I was strong. That was good. Strong people still deserve witnesses when they break. Before I continue, tell me where you are watching from tonight. And if your family has ever moved into your peace before asking for permission, stay with this story, because I thought making them leave would end it. I did not know the next thing I found in my own kitchen drawer would make me cut them off completely and sell the beach house before Marcus could try again. The next morning, Coral Key House looked innocent. Sunlight poured through the wide windows. The ocean rolled softly against the shore. Seagulls moved over the water. The kitchen still smelled faintly of the groceries my mother had brought. For a moment, I almost convinced myself the worst had passed. Then Grace opened the drawer beside the refrigerator. "Naomi!" I was standing by the sink. "What?" Her voice changed. "You need to see this." I walked over. Inside the drawer, under a stack of dish towels, was a folder. Not mine. A brown folder with Marcus's handwriting on the front. Coral Plan. My stomach tightened. Vivian put on her glasses before Grace even opened it. Inside were printed pages, rental income projections, luxury family retreat concepts, short-term vacation rental estimates, photos of the house pulled from the original listing, a list of room assignments, a rough schedule for family occupancy phase 1, and another document that made Vivian go very still. "What is it?" I asked. She read silently, then looked at me. "It appears to be a draft statement claiming that you verbally agreed to allow Marcus and Tasha to occupy Coral Key House as caretakers and future family managers." I laughed once. Cold. "Caretakers?" Vivian continued. "The document suggests that in exchange for maintaining the property, Marcus would receive a percentage of rental income from future vacation bookings." Grace looked at the ceiling. "Lord, give me strength not to throw this folder into the Atlantic." I took the paper. My hands shook. There were notes in the margins. "Mom can confirm Naomi offered house after Sea-Pine's issue." Dad witness. Use children's stability angle. Mention Naomi travels. Emotional hardship if she reverses. Emotional hardship. Again, they were not simply moving in. They were building a claim. Not a strong legal claim, Vivian said later, but strong enough to harass, strong enough to scare, strong enough to create confusion with vendors, neighbors, local service people, maybe even short-term rental agencies. Strong enough to make me spend money defending what was already mine. I sat down. Grace crouched beside me. "Breathe. I can't keep doing this. I know. They don't stop. I know. They see everything I own as something Marcus can use." Grace said nothing, because there was nothing gentle enough and true enough at the same time. Vivian gathered the papers. "Naomi, we need to respond formally, strongly." I looked toward the ocean, the same ocean I had bought this house to hear. It did not sound peaceful anymore. It sounded like evidence. I whispered, "I want to sell it." Grace froze. Vivian looked at me. "Today is emotional." "Yes." "Do not decide only from injury." "I'm not." Grace sat beside me. "Talk." I looked around the kitchen. The groceries. The drawer. The folder. The sand. The reading room, where Grandma Ruth's chair had been moved. The beach house was beautiful. But something had changed. Not because my family had power over it. Because they had shown me they would keep trying to enter through guilt, children, documents, surprise visits, and false claims. I could secure it. I could fight. I could keep changing codes. I could hire security. I could create legal walls. But I had bought Coral Key for rest. Now the house required defense. "I don't want to spend the next 10 years protecting a beach house from my own family," I said. Grace's face softened. "That makes sense." Vivian nodded slowly. "Selling is a valid boundary if it is chosen, not forced." "It is chosen. Then we do it clean." Clean became the word. Clean sale. Clean title. Clean communications. Clean cut. By noon, Vivian had documented the unauthorized occupation, the folder, the gate access, the camera footage, the damages, the witnesses, and the draft claim. By evening, she had sent formal notices to my parents, Marcus, and Tasha. No access. No representations. No claims. No contact with property vendors. No rental listings. No discussion of Coral Key House as family property. Any further interference would lead to legal action. Then I called my realtor. "I want to sell." She was shocked. "You just bought it this year." "I know. It's a strong market. You could make a profit if we time it right. List it quietly." Grace raised a glass of sparkling water that night. "To selling peace, when peace changes address." I cried again, but lighter this time. The hardest call came from my mother 3 days later. I answered because Vivian said one controlled conversation might reveal whether they understood the notice. My mother sounded hoarse. "Naomi." "Yes." "You are selling the house?" "Yes." "Because of us?" "Because of what you did." She began crying. "Baby, we made a mistake." "No, you made a plan." Silence. Then she whispered, "Marcus said it was only for stability. You wrote notes about emotional hardship." She stopped breathing for a second. "Good." She knew. "I saw the folder," I said. "Naomi, you planned to witness a lie. We were desperate." "For what?" "For him." There it was. At least it was honest. "For Marcus," I said. She cried harder. "I was afraid he would lose everything. So you helped him reach for mine." "I am sorry." "For what specifically?" She was quiet. I waited. "Mom, for using the children," she whispered. "For entering your house without permission. For stalking the kitchen like it was ours. For helping Marcus believe he could stay. For knowing the caretaker paper was not true." My throat tightened. "And for moving Ruth's chair." That broke me. I closed my eyes. She sobbed. "I saw his box there. I knew it was wrong." "Why didn't you stop him?" "Because stopping Marcus felt like losing him." "And losing me?" She did not answer. That was the answer. I said, "I am cutting off financial support." Her breath caught. "What?" "All of it. No more monthly assistance. No more emergency transfers. No more paying bills through you that turn into support for Marcus. If you need medical help, Vivian and Grace will help me set up direct payment to providers only. Nothing else." "Naomi, please." "No. Your father will be upset." "Then let him be upset in a house I am not paying for." She cried quietly. I continued. "And I am not inviting any of you to Coral Key before it sells. Can I apologize in person?" "No." "Naomi?" "Mom, you did not respect the gate. Now you do not get the door." I hung up. My hands shook. Grace, sitting across from me, nodded. That was clean. It hurts. Clean cuts still hurt. My father did not take it well. He sent one message. "You are punishing the whole family because you are angry." I replied, "I am protecting my life because you ignored my no." Then I blocked him for 30 days. Marcus exploded. "You're selling because you don't want us to have it." He was almost right. I was selling because I wanted no one to have access to the battlefield he had turned my peace into. He texted, "You care more about money than blood." I replied once, "Blood does not create ownership." Then I blocked him too. The house sold faster than expected. A retired couple from Atlanta fell in love with it at the first private showing. They had no connection to my family, no interest in renting it, no plan to use it as a family battlefield. They wanted to watch sunsets, host grandchildren sometimes, and grow herbs near the kitchen. The offer was strong, clean, cash-heavy, no drama. I accepted. The final weekend before closing, I went to Coral Key alone. Grace offered to come. I said no, not because I did not need her, because I needed to say goodbye privately. The house was empty again, clean, staged for sale, beautiful, a little less mine each hour. I walked room by room. The kitchen where I had imagined cooking seafood stew. The balcony where Marcus had stood like a king. The guest rooms where Tasha had placed bags. The deck where my father had sat with a drink. The reading room where Grandma Ruth's chair had been moved. I had already moved the chair back to my main home. The room looked bare without it. I stood there and whispered, "I'm sorry." But then I stopped. Sorry for what? For selling? For not fighting forever? For not turning my sanctuary into a courtroom? No. I touched the wall. "I loved you," I said, "but I am allowed to leave what no longer feels safe." That sentence freed something. At sunset, I walked down to the beach. The sand was cool. The water moved over my feet. I thought I would feel defeated. I did not. I felt sad, but not defeated. There is a difference between being pushed out and choosing to walk away with your name still clean. They did not get the house. They did not get the rental income. They did not get the caretaker claim. They did not get the family vacation story. They did not get to turn my peace into Marcus's next project. I sold it. On my terms. With profit. With clean documents. With every false hand removed. At closing, I signed the sale papers calmly. The realtor smiled. "Congratulations." The word felt strange. Congratulations usually belongs to getting something, not letting something go. But sometimes release is an achievement too. The proceeds went into a new trust structure. Not a beach house, not another luxury home. A fund. I named it the Coral Key Boundary Fund. Grace said the name sounded like a therapist-owned real estate. I ignored her. The fund helped women protect homes, vacation properties, inherited land, apartments, and private spaces from family occupation, guilt claims, false caretaker arrangements, and sibling entitlement. The first workshop was called No Gate Code for Guilt. Grace named that one. Vivian approved it immediately, which told me it was serious enough. Women came from everywhere. One woman said her brother moved into her lake cabin temporarily and stayed 4 years. Another said her parents gave her condo key to a cousin escaping debt. Another said her family listed her vacation home on a rental site without permission. Another said she felt selfish because she owned a small house by herself while her sister had children. The room went quiet at that. I knew that wound. I stood before them and said, "A woman's peace is not extra because she does not have children. A private space is not wasted because relatives want it. You can share by choice. But pressure is not generosity, and surprise occupation is not family." Women wrote that down. Surprise occupation is not family. The Coral Key Boundary Fund taught practical things. Change codes after every family visit. Use written guest agreements for extended stays. Never let anyone receive mail at your property unless you intend legal complications. Document unauthorized entry. Separate emotional help from property access. Do not let anyone call themselves caretaker without a contract. Do not let children be used as keys. Do not ignore just for a weekend when the bags look like a season. Do not accept guilt as rent. We also taught the emotional part. How to survive being called selfish. How to say no to a crying parent. How to grieve a property you sell because it stopped feeling safe. How to separate love from access. How to help without disappearing. At the first session, I told the women, I sold my beach house not because I lost, but because I refused to let my family turn it into a place I had to guard more than enjoy. A woman in the back cried into her hands. I thought leaving meant they won. I shook my head. No, sometimes leaving with your documents clean is the win. My parents asked to meet 3 months after the sale. I said no, twice. The third time, my mother sent a letter. Naomi, I am sorry for what we did at Coral Key. I am writing because I need to name it, not because I deserve your answer. We entered your house without permission. We used your gate code. We brought groceries and boxes. We let children believe they had rooms. We helped Marcus create a story that was not true. We treated your peace as empty space. I know now that when I said you were one woman, I was really saying your life counted less, because it did not look like Marcus's. That was wrong. Your peace counted. Your house counted. Your no counted. I am sorry for moving Ruth's chair in my mind before Marcus moved it with his hands. Mom? That last line hurt. In my mind. That was where the theft had begun. Long before the gate opened. Long before the boxes. My mother had moved me out inside herself first. I folded the letter and placed it in my desk. I did not answer for a week. Then I wrote, I hear you. I am not ready for a visit. She replied, I understand. No crying emoji. No long guilt. No but. Progress. My father's apology came slower. He invited me to lunch. I declined. He sent a message. I ignored it. Then he came to my office and asked the receptionist to tell me he would wait downstairs if I was willing. Not demand. Not barge in. Wait. I let him come up. Grace stayed. Vivian joined by phone. My father looked older. More tired. Less certain that his disappointment could move furniture. He sat across from me and said, I was wrong. I said, for what specifically? He looked down. For using the word family to excuse entering your house. For threatening that we would stop treating you as family. For giving Marcus permission I did not have. For letting him build a caretaker story. For thinking because you owned more, you deserved less protection. My throat tightened. He continued. And for believing a daughter's peace was negotiable when a son was uncomfortable. That one landed deep. I nodded slowly. I hear you. He looked relieved. I held up one hand. Hearing you does not restore access. I know. Good. That was new too. Marcus took the longest. At first he blamed everyone. Me for being selfish. Grace for interfering. Vivian for being lawyer poison. My parents for not pushing harder. Tasha for telling me about the folder notes. Even his children, indirectly, for being the reason he tried. That was Marcus. Responsibility was always outside his skin. Tasha left him 9 months after Coral Key sold. Not because of the beach house alone, because the beach house showed her the shape of the rest of her life. A life where Marcus wanted comfort but avoided truth. She called me once. I'm sorry, she said. For what specifically? For standing in your linen closet like I had a right. For letting my children run through your house when I knew you had not invited us. For letting my exhaustion with Marcus make me quiet. For wanting your house to solve my marriage. That was honest. I respected that. I hear you. I don't expect anything. Good. She laughed softly through tears. I deserved that. Maybe she did. But I still connected her with Vivian's family law referral, not because she earned my rescue, but because helping a woman leave chaos did not require handing chaos a key. Marcus's apology came 2 years later. By then, the Coral Key Boundary Fund had helped dozens of women remove unauthorized relatives from property, stop fake caretaker claims, and protect homes from emotional invasion. Marcus asked to meet at a public cafe. Grace came with me and sat 2 tables away, pretending not to listen with her whole body. Marcus looked different. Not poor, not broken, just less polished by delusion. He sat down and did not smile. I'm sorry, he said. I waited. He sighed. For what specifically? Yes. He nodded. For going into Coral Key. For using the gate code Dad gave me. For moving boxes in. For letting the kids believe it was our new place. For creating the caretaker plan. For touching Grandma Ruth's chair. That last one made my eyes burn. He looked ashamed. I knew that would hurt you. Why do it? He looked out the window. Because I wanted the house to feel like mine before you could stop me. And because I thought if enough of us were already inside, you would fold. There it was. The plan in plain language. You used my love against me. Yes. His voice cracked slightly. I am sorry. I studied him. What changed? Tasha left. The kids asked why Aunt Naomi sold the beach house if we were supposed to live there. I heard myself trying to explain it and realized every version made me sound like a thief. You were. He nodded. I know. That was growth. Not full redemption. Not trust. But growth. I don't forgive all of it, I said. I know. But I hear you. He nodded again. Thank you. He did not ask for money. Did not ask for access. Did not ask me to speak to the children. For once, the apology ended where it should, with responsibility, not reward. Years passed. I bought another place near water eventually. Not a beach house. A smaller lake cottage 2 hours from the city. Quiet, private. No grand deck. No extra wings. No family fantasy. Just 2 bedrooms, a porch, a dock, and a gate code known only to 3 people. Grace, Vivian, me. Aunt Linda complained. You don't trust me with the code? I trust you with my life. But not the code? You might give it to Jesus if he asked dramatically. She laughed and admitted that was possible. The lake cottage became what Coral Key was supposed to be. Peace. Not because it was smaller, because I protected it differently. No family announcements. No casual access. No drop-by. No spare key under a pot. No staying just one night. No mail. No exceptions that smelled like future problems. The Coral Key money also helped build something bigger than the house. The Boundary Fund expanded into legal clinics across 3 states. We added a property emergency hotline, a before-you-hand-over keys checklist, a template for family guest agreements, a support group called One Woman is Enough. For women told their homes were too large, too nice, too peaceful, or too unused for them alone. That group became powerful. Women cried the first time they said the words out loud. One woman is enough. Enough for a house. Enough for a dream. Enough for peace. Enough for a locked door. Enough for a beach. Enough for a life. At the annual fundraiser, we placed an empty rocking chair on stage. Not Grandma Ruth's actual chair. A symbolic one. I told the audience the story of how Marcus moved her chair to make room for his box. People went silent. Then I said, that is how entitlement works. It does not always begin by tearing down walls. Sometimes it begins by moving what is sacred a few feet to the side. That sentence became the heart of the fund. Do not let them move what is sacred. My mother attended that fundraiser. So did my father. They sat in the back. They sat in the back. Afterward, my mother came to me quietly. I think about the chair often, she said. So do I. I should have stopped him. Yes, I should have stopped myself before that. I looked at her. She continued. Before the gate, before the groceries, before the children, before I called your house empty. I nodded. That is where it started. In my mind, she said. Yes. She wiped her eyes but did not ask me to comfort her. Progress. My father later donated to the Boundary Fund. Not a huge amount. Enough to mean he had thought about it. The note said, "For daughters whose peace should not need defending from family." I kept the note, not because it erased what he did, because it named the lesson. Coral Key House belonged to another family now. Years later, I drove past the road once. Not into the gate, just past. The house looked beautiful in the distance. Lights warm, garden healthy. No anger rose in me. That surprised me. I felt tenderness. For the woman I had been when I bought it. For the woman I became when I sold it. For the peace I thought lived only in that view. I whispered, "Thank you." Not to the house exactly, to the chapter. Because some chapters do not stay, but they still teach. My parents gave my $5 million beach house to my brother. So I cut them off and sold it off. People love the dramatic part. The open gate. The boxes. The beach party. The children choosing rooms. The groceries in my kitchen. The folder in the drawer. The fake caretaker plan. The lawyer at the door. The house sold before Marcus could claim it. I understand. It is dramatic, but the real story is about access. Who gets it? Who assumes it? Who abuses it? Who loses it? It is about the daughter whose peace was treated like unused storage. The sister whose beach house became a solution for a brother's discomfort. The woman told she had too much because she had no husband or children. The family who thought a gate code meant permission. A gate code is not permission. A spare room is not consent. A child's excitement is not a lease. A mother's tears are not a deed. A father's approval is not ownership. A brother's need is not an emergency key. And a woman's peace is not empty just because no one is currently taking from it. If you are listening and your family has access to your home, be wise. Love them, but be wise. Change codes when needed. Write agreements for long stays. Do not let people receive mail without understanding consequences. Do not let anyone call themselves caretaker because they watered one plant. Do not ignore boxes. Do not ignore groceries. Do not ignore phrases like, "We already told the kids." Do not ignore "it's only temporary." Temporary is where many women lose years. Ask questions. Who invited you? Who gave you the code? How long are you staying? What did you tell people? What are you expecting from me? Why did you not ask before arriving? And if they have already entered, do not let shame freeze you. Call Vivian. Call Grace. Document everything. Ask them to leave. If they refuse, get help. If the house no longer feels like peace after the fight, you are not weak for selling. You are allowed to choose a new address for your peace. That is not defeat. That is ownership. Today, I no longer own Coral Key House. I own something better. The certainty that no property is worth becoming a prisoner to family entitlement. The Boundary Fund has helped women reclaim homes, remove false occupants, protect lake cabins, stop fake caretaker claims, and say no before the boxes arrive. My lake cottage is quiet. My gate code is private. Grandma Ruth's rocking chair sits near the window, exactly where I placed it. No box beside it. No one moves it. And above the chair, I keep one framed sentence. Do not let them move what is sacred. My name is Naomi Bennett. My parents gave my beach house to my brother. I made them leave. Found the plan. Cut off the money. Sold the house. Built a fund. And learned that sometimes the strongest way to keep your peace is to refuse to let anyone know where it lives next.